Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and what a great show we have planned for you today, where later on in the segment, if we have time, we will be doing computer and technology news, and that is a segment dedicated entirely to all things new and different and exciting, having to do with new gadgets, stories that you should definitely hear about. We cover things such as privacy and what have you. Hey, it's a fun segment. You should definitely check that out. But hey, in the first segment, we of course have an interview, and we have an interview with a great company. They are called Brainwavz Audio, and we're going to be talking to their product design and marketing manager all about what they do, how they do it, and hey, we're going to get a good overview of their products. But before we get to that, a couple of things to mention, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything and anything having to do with today's show. Be that the show notes, which will have a link to our guest website, any articles that we do later on in the program, everything, one-stop shop right there. So if you're busy, your hands are tied, don't worry, we got you covered. Also, be sure while you're there to check out the social media contest, which is brought to you by Logitech, and be sure to check out the live video portion, which is brought to you by OWC. So all of that and more at computeramerica.com. And yeah, I think that's just about it. So without further ado, I think we're just going to go ahead and introduce our guest. So again, Brainwavz Audio, and here to talk about, well, high-end and just audio in general. We have Marlon Sutherland joining us. He is, again, the product design and marketing manager for Brainwavz Audio. And Marlon, how you doing? Welcome on to Computer America. Yeah, our pleasure, our pleasure. So why don't you go ahead and just kind of give us a little bit of background on Brainwavz Audio and a bit of background on yourself. How'd you find yourself working for them?
Okay. Well, Brainwavz Audio, first of all, is essentially an earphones and headphones company, and we specialize in products and accessories for personal audio use. Like how I found myself, I came to them in 2012 from the design industry. At the time, I was working for Hollywood Movies doing design there, and a friend of mine, Prithvi Shenoy, who's the owner of Brainwavz, long-standing friend, he had another brand focused on media players. And he, at the time, his media players were very famous because it had a high-fidelity audio, and it was paired with a great set of earphones. Mm-hmm. So it was very well received in the market at those times for those things. And then something called the iPhone came along for him, and it found and basically killed the media player markets. But he also found that the iPhones and those other media players, their earphones that were offered weren't very good. So people were always still requesting those earphones, and he saw that there was a need in there for the market. And that's basically how Brainwavz was born. That was around 2008. But for me, too, I've been following him as a good friend for a while, and he gave me the opportunity to come on and lead his design team, and now I'm the head of marketing there.
Yeah, I can really see how it's a competitive field, because to say it's crowded is an understatement. And, you know, I guess being in charge of making your products really stand out, that would be, I guess, a tough challenge. And, you know, I mean, really, how many ways can you really redesign over-the-ear headphones? You know, it's
yeah, exactly.
so many things. So, But yeah, hey, we're gonna talk about your products and how you do make them stand out. Let's talk about kind of your humble beginnings. What would you say is kind of your first product that really caught people's attention?
Well, as I said before, we had we he was doing the company was doing media players before, and so the first product actually turned out to be one of the earphones that was offered with the media players, which was called the Alpha at the time, and it was very well received. This earphone in the audiophile community, basically from a website called headfi.com, which is the largest earphone and headphone audiophile community in the world. So it was really, really well received there. So with the death of the media players, it was we found that the Alpha was still getting traction. It was still very recognized. So we decided to launch it as a separate product, and that's basically how Brainwave was born, from that one product, the Alpha, which we still sell today, actually.
Yeah, for anyone out there watching the video portion, we kind of just as we talk, I'm going to be showing the products as we talk about them, and the product images. And you certainly have, to say that you have just the Alpha would be obviously a lie, because I'm looking here at was that 20? I don't know, 20 or so different types of in-ear, kind of earphones or headphones, and then of course you have the other styles. What kind of separates all these, at least to you and to Brainwavz, what separates an earphone? Because you have some that sell for $20, you have some that sell for, well, actually I take it back, I know I saw like 30 bucks and $40, but what separates something a little I don't want to say cheaper, but less expensive versus some of these that I see here that are like 120?
Okay. Yes, that's true. We've been pretty busy with developing product over the last little bit. Um, well, first and foremost for us, sound is a big motivator. So in our earphones, we try to launch earphones where it provides the best sound for the customer for that market segment. So a lot of these earphones here, the price separation is based on the sound quality a lot of times, but they all are great sounding earphones, especially at their price point.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for instance, our Deltas, which are $30, it's won best under $40, best sounding headphone under $40 in two different magazines, Wirecutter and I think recently Expert Reviews as well.
Very cool.
So even though our main core company belief is to provide great sound or great functional products for a good price. So we often compete with things much higher in price point above, such as the Deltas can compete with 50, 60, $70 earphones in usual. But I mean, generally throughout our product line, you find that the price difference was based on a lot of times the quality of the sound, but it's still great sounding. And then obviously more accessories, then the price will go up there. But that's generally how it's separated out. But on average, all of our products are very good sounding for their price point.
Right. I mean, it's nothing to really say that a $30 headphone or earphone is worse than $130. Like, obviously, there's going to be a
Exactly.
difference. It's to me, it's kind of like buying a lower end, let's say, processor, because this is a computer show and they would understand that. It'd be
Hmm.
like buying like an i3 instead of an i7. If you just need the i3 and you're happy with the i3, and and again, all you need is the i3, then the i7 would be overkill. But they're both made to a certain quality. They're still both made well. It's just one's going to outperform the other. That's the sense I'm kind of getting with your earphones. So let's talk about some of the standouts in this, because you mentioned the Deltas, and I'm seeing let's see, I saw one here, the B400, the quad balanced armature earphone for
Hmm.
190, which looks like to be about the top of this kind of segment. Talk about some that you're really excited about.
Yes, to touch on what you said before, sound is a preference thing, really. So you can have $30 earphones that you love, and you can buy $1,000 earphones which you don't like, because it's a preference thing. But for standouts in our line, our Quad Balance B400 is the flagship of our line. It's their newest product that's come out to date. It's a four driver four balanced armor drivers, and in a 3D printed shell. It's very much stand out because it's the first of two models that we did that is 3D printed in housing, so that we can achieve real ergonomics and great fit for our customers and users. Because a lot of earphones are very uncomfortable to wear. Could sound great, but uncomfortable to wear for long periods of times. And with our B400 and B200 lines, and basically most of the B lines now, we've concentrated on ergonomics, so they fit quite well. And for the Tweet 400, we've used 3D printing so we can truly get an ergonomic shape that's not reliant on old technologies.
That's and of course it's very interesting because we're looking at these; they're very stylish, and it seems like the idea that you have these 3D printed, kind of earbuds that stick out of your ear. I mean, they're definitely a unique shape thanks to the 3D printing. They have a detachable cable. I mean, all these things kind of lead me to think that this is maybe for musicians or people who, are going to be like more than just, a 15-minute walk to work or something like that. This is going to be someone who uses audio equipment on the daily. Who is this line really focused at or focused on?
This line is really focused for the audiophile person, for the person who really enjoys their music, who wants to hear the most out of their favorite song, those sort of people. Um, it's really it's a niche market that is actually growing across the world, and it is people who have many different types of earphones, but yeah, they do constantly listen to earphones. This particular model is focused that you can take it. It's comfortable. You can take it for a commute. You can take it for on a bus ride, or you could just sit in your living room and just listen to it as studio monitors. We have had people have said, musicians who said they have used it, um, used it as well while practicing and those sort of things. So it's of that particular grade.
Very, very cool. And see, here it comes in a couple different colors, and I guess these colors are, they look pretty unique. And I guess this is because the colors can be added to the resin, before they're printed. So they're pretty stylish. Hey, they're pretty good looking too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, the colors can be added after the 3D printing in a coloring process that we have. So we actually are able to produce numerous different colors based on based on basically what the market dictates. Because we've tried out a few different ones. Obviously, certain colors always stick around, such as black. So,
Yeah.
but we are able to do different colors at this point for different processes. And B400 is actually made in-house in our workshop. So we're able to keep refining the process over and over and try different things as it goes. So yeah, this particular model and our future models coming it has big potential for customization and just evolving.
Oh, and I guess I should ask you, what format is this? Because they have the wires. Famously, of course, the iPhone and one generation of the Samsung phone ditched the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. I think
Yeah.
Samsung is going back to it. iPhone has made no such move. But
hmm
are these Bluetooth or are they 3.5 millimeter?
These are 3.5 millimeter, but they come with a detachable cable, so any MMCX cable can be added to them. So currently we offer what's called a balance cable, which is a different type of cable that's used for high-end audio players. That is with a 2.5 pin, but it does come with a different host array of different qualities, 3.5s as well. We don't offer the lightning cable right now for it. Um, because we find that with that particular market, our customers aren't particularly asking for that at the moment, because the iPhone mark segment, especially since it's only really the iPhone 10 and these newer ones that use this,
Right.
um, and the Lightning cable is not the easiest cable to develop, so we haven't particularly used it, but the 3.5 cable is very good. I said we have very many choices of it, and the customers like that one.
All right. No, and of course there is the adapter that comes in, but just wanted to know how people were using these things in terms of connection methods. So that's good to know. All right. So we talked about the B400s. Were there any other like, you mentioned the Deltas a couple times. $27. That's very, very affordable. Were there any others that really, kind of stood out? Like maybe somewhere between 200 and $20. Like, is there one in the middle that you kind of really appreciate?
Well, yes, there is. I said to mention the Deltas. There is our original M series line. That's been a favorite. That's our longest running product line. And my personal favorite in there is the M3, which has stood the test of time as a Brainwavz model. It's a classic earphone. Um, it uses traditional technology for as a dynamic driver, but it's just a great sounding earphone for $90. And again, it's with a unique design, and as again it sounds well enough to compete with something. It's at $90. It sounds well enough to compete with something about $120. So that's been another standout that's lasted the test of time. We also have another one, which is the R3 earphones that we have, and that has a very unique design. That is a dual dynamic drivered earphone. So it has two speakers in each side. It's dynamic, and they're kind of set opposing
Mm-hmm.
with a sound chamber. So it gives a very wide sound stage. And I mention these ones because I find that, say, watching movies used with a pair of earphones, those ones do very well, very well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at them, and they have this. Well, I mean, they're still earphones, but they have a semi-large canister-looking thing that the earbuds actually come off. So you're saying that's a chamber for obviously
Yeah,
the
that's a
audio to
chamber.
yeah.
Yes.
So hey, that's really really different. I've honestly never seen that before. So there's that one. Let's go ahead and skip on over to headphones because obviously some people are they're diehard headphone fans. Convenience means nothing. It's all about comfort and it's all about that great audio quality. And, people really do tend to gravitate towards, on ear, over ear headphones. So let's talk about these. A few less, but still, you seem to hit a bunch of different price points. Let's start with the flagship, and if I'm not mistaken, looks to be either the HM5 or the HM9s.
The flagship is the HM5 Studio Audio headphones. That's another long-standing one that we've done very well with. It's a very good neutral sounding headphone, so it doesn't color the sound, the original source material go inside. It's quite robust. A lot of people have purchased it to use it as in their studio setup and those sort of things. Or you can also use it walking down the street. Um, that is definitely the flagship, and there is many different accessories for it. There's different cables. We offer a line of different ear pads, so the ear pads can change, the colors of the ear pads can change, those sort of things for that one. For anybody who wants anything like ultra portable,
Mm-hmm.
we offer the HM2, which is the cheaper one of that line. So that's about $50, and that one can be folded, and it's just an portable headphone that sounds pretty good. And then our HM9 sits right in. It's more the stylish one. It's for the I would say the style mind, like the teenager, those sort of things. Again, another very very comfortable and great sounding headphone is the HM9s. And then we offer a kids headphone in our kids series because we find that a lot of parents, myself included, like to have earphones for children, especially ones that are Bluetooth. These ones that we offer can be Bluetooth or they can be wired, and they're also noise controlled because
Yeah.
they don't want to hurt the children's ears. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's a hugely important feature where we're learning more and more every year about not just singular loud bursts of music, but continuous, kind of over a certain level. Maybe it doesn't sound uncomfortable, but over time, especially at a young age, can dull hearing. So, to see these things capped at 85 decibels, not bad, and obviously something parents should definitely pay attention to. I mean, so we have all these, and design seems to be part of this. I'm sure that you have different cables. I mean, what you and it seems like every other product you mentioned here has some kind of accolade behind it. What do you think Brainwavz does right with audio equipment? What makes them, I guess, kind of, and as I said at the beginning, it is a crowded field. You can only do audio so many ways. What does Brainwavz do right?
Well, one thing I think we do right is that we have a very tight and nimble design process. We are able to go through lots of different iterations, versions of our designs to see what can work the best. We work very closely with our factories. We have an in-house workshop, so we're able to go through prototype after prototype and just see what works best. Kind of. Get rid of problems before the product hits the market. Also, we're very, very, very tireless when it comes to product quality. We strive to put out the best products that we can and to have the best customer experience for our products. And I find that it's not just enough to have a good design of a product, but if it breaks within a week or something else, then the customer has a bad experience. And we really, really try to concentrate and manufacture our products with the lowest possible defect rate that we can for such products. Because to tell the truth, for earphones,
Mm-hmm.
earphones as an industry has a fairly significant defect rate, depending, because earphones usually customers, they're treated pretty bad, pushed in your pocket, dropped on the ground, those sort of things. So you really need to try and design your earphone products to be quite robust so that it can withstand all of these. At the same time, we try to put out, let's say, the best sound that we can for that price point, and we honestly try that. On our productions, 100% of our earphones are always sound and quality tested. We go through and we listen to all. We put them on the spectrum analyzer and we see what the actual sound curve is for that particular earphone, and we're able to pull out which ones don't meet our requirements.
Yeah, that is huge because I think especially when you get down to a certain price point, they are mass produced. They are put into plastic wrap, and no one ever tests. No one really cares. I think people expect a certain quality out of especially the cheaper ones. So it's very encouraging that you hear that because it's this is something that we preach here on the show, like keyboards. For the longest time, I used $30 keyboards, $20 keyboards, and then I ran across personal favorite was the Cherry MX6, and it's like, yeah, you're spending $200 on a keyboard, but I've used this one keyboard that would have already lasted me 5 keyboards. It's investing in things that you actually like will take you further than you think. So glad to hear that you guys have the same philosophy when you manufacture these things, is that, hey, you buy it once, and if you're happy with it, you don't have to buy it again for a good long time. So there's that one. What other accessories, because you mentioned a couple times about different kinds of cords, I see carrying cases. What accessories should people be on the lookout for if they purchase either earphones or headphones?
Well, we have a few different lines of accessories actually, but one line that I'm particularly proud of and excited by is our line of headphone hangers and headphone storage devices, right? We have currently, we have ones called the hang jaw. We have, which is basically an adjustable headphone storage device that can be attached to your desk, and you can adjust it. It doesn't require, and it doesn't damage your desk. It can fit desks of different varying heights, and it just basically it cleans up your desk for where you put your headphone. This particular one can be adjusted so it can go on your desk, or it can go on a shelf beside your desk. So it's very adjustable like that. We also have another one called the Trust, which attaches to the bottom of your desk, and this one doesn't require any tools. All you did do is remove the very strong sticker adhesive on the back, and it's VHB adhesive from 3M, so it's very strong, and you can just stick it on the bottom of your desk. And this particular hanger, you can hang 2 headphones underneath your desk with no problem. These are the 2 I personally use right now at home and at work. We also have another one called the hookah, which is another hanger that can be put on a vertical surface. So if you have a wall or the side of a cabinet that you need to put your headphone on, you can easily put that on there. And then we have another one called the Credo Dual, which is a personal favorite of mine, which is which is an earphone hanging hanger. And haven't really seen any of these on the market before, so I believe we were the first ones to kind of do this. And it's these ones, the Kudo. There's two that comes in the package. One goes on your monitor, so for those of us who use our earphones at work or while video gaming, those sort of things, you can then hang your earphone on your monitor. And there's another one that sticks on a wall, and those for those who use, say, Bluetooth earphones, and you want to keep your earphone charged by the door, so that you can then pick it up and go outside for a run, and when you come back, you place it back there. Those sort of things. That particular line, a lot of design thought has gone into, but we also have other accessory lines, such as our earpads. So our earpad line is quite extensive. They were developed originally for our HM5, but you can go on a website called headfi.com and look up Brainwavz earpads. They're actually quite compatible with many, many, many different brands of earphones out there. Pretty much all the popular headphone brands. And people have been buying her AirPad line to upgrade and replace their existing pads. These pads are very well made. They're made. Inside foam is memory foam, so they're very comfortable. You can get them in original sheep leather. You can get them in the high-end faux leather, protein-treated faux leather, or you can get them in velour as well. And they come in round, they come in oval sizes, large, round, and they just fit a variety of earphones and just give your earphone a bit of style and improves the comfort of the earphone. So that line as well has done well for us. And recently we've decided to add as well, because we're now using detachable cables on our balanced armature line, such as the B400 and the B200. So we've also added a line of cables as well to our product list. And so this cables as well come. You can get cable with a mic. So if you bought, say, a Shure earphone, it doesn't have a microphone, and it's detachable, you could get cables with a built-in mic already. You can get them to have such as a balance cable, as I mentioned before. So if you have a balance player out there that uses a 2.5 pin, you can replace the cable so you can use that one. And there's some other stylish ones. And then you mentioned the cases. So the Brainwave cases have become very popular and kind of iconic in the earphone industry. We spend a lot of time on these cases, designed by us as well, and then manufactured to a very high standard. They're pretty stylish, and as I said, they're very robust. Many people have told them they end up putting all sorts of things more than earphones inside of the carry cases. I myself even do that as well, because they're just indestructible. I travel with them. As I said, these cases, when they're manufactured, the amount of quality control on it is quite extensive.
Yeah, and we're looking at these, and they do come in whatever shape that your headphones happen to come in, and I can imagine these things would be great because for the show here, whenever I travel, having those headphone cases, it's it's not a good look when you're at a convention or something like that, and you have one earphone kind of hanging because it broke in transit. You definitely want to keep these things safe, and so glad that carry cases are definitely, are definitely there. So, all right, so that was a great run through of all of your different products. Yeah, we have about a minute left, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you about, as soon as you go to the website, again, link in the show notes at computeramerica.com, but you have something here for March Madness. What's going on? I saw a couple of your products on sale, and is this a common thing where you kind of, with your community, try to pair up your products with events that may be happening?
Yes, we're very big on having seasonal sales, those sort of things. We had something for Christmas. We recently we decided to do something for Chinese New Year, and now we decided to offer something for March Madness as well. This is
wavzaudio.com. And I think we're going to end it there. But Marlon, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Sorry, can I just say one more thing? Sorry.
Oh, actually, you know what? If you want to stay tight, we'll come back right after the commercials and we'll wrap this up. So everyone, stay tuned.
I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour, and we are continuing on. Just a few more minutes here, and we're talking to Brainwavz Audio. You can find, again, a link to that at Computer America. By the way, if you missed any part of today's program, you can, of course, check out the entirety of the show in podcast form. So the podcast is just our show, rebroadcast wherever podcasts are heard. So joining us, or continuing on with us, is Mr. Marlon Sutherland. He is the product design and marketing manager for Brainwavz Audio. And Marlon, I'll admit I was trying to get everything condensed into the half hour, but hey, plenty of time. Glad that you could join us. And you wanted to mention a couple more things?
Yeah, sorry, it's just one more thing really, is that for anybody in the LA area, we're going to be at Can Jam SoCal at the LA Convention Center, which is the largest earphone and headphone personal audio show in the world. We're going to be, it's on between April 7th and 8th, and yeah, we're going to be exhibiting there. So anybody's interested in our products, they can always come down and check them out and have a chat.
Awesome. Yeah, go on out there. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be in California, but anyone out there who is in the area, definitely go down and check that out. But no, this is, of course, super exciting. If people want to find out more, I'm guessing your website, and also where, are these things available through Amazon or just strictly through your website?
Yeah, there are multiple channels. So you can get them through our website.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I bet you guys have a number of different products come out over the course of a year. So, hey, in a couple months, we'll check back with you, see if you have anything new.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so everyone, there we go. And here we go. Marlon, one more time. Marlon Sutherland, he is the product design and marketing manager for Brainwavz Audio. So, Marlon, have a great day. And, hey, thanks again for coming on Computer America.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ben.
All right,
Bye.
have a good one. Bye. All right, everyone. So there he goes. And now, in the second part of the show, we will be doing computer and technology news. So why don't we go ahead and jump into that? So without further ado, brought to you by OWC, Computer and Technology News. Good. Technology is used in a lot of ways to save lives, and definitely we hope that it doesn't take lives, and especially inadvertently. But there is some new information out today that we should definitely get to, and that involves a statement from the police chief over in, I believe this happened in San Francisco or something like that. Uber has been getting a lot of stuff, has been catching a lot of stuff for this, and that's obviously completely fair. It was their vehicle. But we should wait until the final results come in to jump to conclusions. And according to the police chief who is overseeing this whole thing, it's in it. Preliminarily, that the vehicle was traveling 38 miles an hour in a 35 mile per hour zone, so only slightly speeding, even though Google Road Maps, which are pretty accurate, show it being a 45 mile an hour road. So that means, there's a little bit of, here and there, but at the same time, wasn't really speeding. And according to people who've seen the video, it's an unfortunate case that happens every single day across this country. Just this time, it involves a self-driving vehicle where tons and tons of people don't look at the roadway and see if they're stepping out in front of traffic. And, I think I read the statistic that's like 8 people or 80 people, somewhere around there, would be killed every single day in car accidents here, just from human-driven cars. So, again, you don't want to say, oh, thank goodness, because, again, a person did unfortunately lose their life. but it goes to show that it wasn't, and that phrase that the police chief said, that it's very clear that it would have been difficult to avoid the collision in any kind of mode, autonomous or human driven. So that's a very important takeaway from this. Uber, of course, they may not be the number one self-driving car technology in the field, but they're far from just putting out completely dangerous and negligent software. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait until they pour over the data, because that's another thing about these kinds of crashes is the fact that, well, regardless of what happens, we're going to have the data to back up and recreate exactly what happened. So we know that we can't let this happen again, what happened, and how do we fix it. And if they find out that it really was the car's fault, that the car detected it and for some reason did not value a person or a pedestrian in the roadway, then you fix that. Or if it was the pedestrian's fault, you fix that. Either way, there is a fix for this, and it's going to come out who's exactly at fault. So there you go. There was that whole article, and I know that we should definitely, of course, get to articles such as that. All right, so there's that one. Now this next one, it's crazy. We just handed this award/crown over a couple of weeks ago, and hey, we're handing it over once again. So this is for the world's largest solid-state drive. Yeah, and largest as in capacity, not largest as in size, because that would be ridiculous. But the largest in capacity now sits at a whopping 100 terabytes. 100 terabytes for a single, let's see, I think this is a 3.5-inch SATA form factor. Right. So 100 terabits solid state in a in an SSD. So, just a month after Samsung released a record-breaking 30 terabyte SSD, a rival has claimed the throne, where Nimbus Data has unveiled the EXA drive, DC100, which crams 100 terabytes of 3D flash memory into a standard 3.5-inch SATA form factor. So, for context, that's about 20 million songs, if you assume about 5 megabytes each, and in a device small enough to fit into your home PC. Not that you're going to buy one, unfortunately, because we ran the numbers on the last one, and it came in somewhere, if memory serves right, I think we estimated that to be about $10,000 for the 30 terabyte. So, and when you pay for the form factor, when you pay for something cutting edge like this, you aren't just paying a flat rate. It goes up exponentially. So this is going to be hefty if anyone even actually buys it, because for the price of one of these, you could probably afford 2 or 3 of the 30 terabyte SSDs. So, as you might guess, this is intended for servers where capacity takes priority over everything, including performance. And they said that the 500 megabytes per second is nothing to write home about. That's probably the write speed. So a data center could hold 100 petabytes on a single rack instead of needing large swaths of server room space. And that's helpful for cloud services, AI, and other technologies that may need massive amounts of data. And SSDs, of course, have it all over, where even if it's not blazing fast like an M.2, the capacity mixed with even the moderate performance increases over traditional hard drives make these things just invaluable for servers. And then the author goes on to say about the cost, saying that the DC100 ships in the summer, and it'll have a pricing comparable to other business-grade SSDs, quote, on a per terabyte basis. So that likely means that prices in the tens of thousands of dollars. So if the 30 terabyte was about 10 grand, we can only assume that 100 terabyte would probably be somewhere in line. Well, that's what they claim. I thought it'd be more. I'm betting probably in the 30 to $40,000 for this one drive. Hefty price tag, but they're right. If they can produce these things and produce them reliably, and you can pay $45,000, so you could minimize your rack, you can minimize the amount of racks you have to worry about, minimize the amount of hard drives you have to power and take care of. Hey, those costs start to come down. So they said that it's likely enough to give pause to even to those companies that can afford it. So while the drive should be trustworthy enough, that's a lot of money to lose if one goes bad. And think of this more as a peek of the future of SSDs, if nothing else. Although I am completely surprised because, again, 30 terabytes just a month ago, now we're at 100. I can't say it's going to be long before we start to see the first petabyte SSD. Probably within the next couple of years, 2-3 years, petabyte SSD that can store so much data. And that's awesome because we're going to need that. The amount of data that we are able to collect and we need to be able to store and then access pretty quickly is only going to increase in the near future as well. So, hey, this is, like John Finkus said from Engadget, a peek at the future. So there you have that. All right. So there's that one. Okay, so another big story. There was the Uber crash. Again, fatality, awful story. But there's another kind of big story unraveling or working its way through the headlines. And partly because I can only assume it has to do with politics. And while we're not going to get into the political side of it, we are going to get into the side of Facebook and how, if you've been listening to the show for a while, I can't help but feel like I need to, kind of mention this. Why the heck is anyone, surprised at this? This should not be surprising to anyone. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our next article here. And they said that utterly horrifying ex-Facebook insider says covert data harvesting was routine. So here's the part that that really gets me going, is that there's a lot of conversation about Cambridge Analytica, which is a company that used skeezy practices to harvest user data from Facebook users, where such as you would answer an online quiz, one of those personality tests, so, supposedly harmless, and then not only would those permissions or taking that test give you permission to harvest your Facebook profile for as much data as they could collect, they also ask for permission to collect your Facebook friends and harvest data from them as well. So here's the thing that's been getting me ever since I've been hearing about this story over the weekend, and it's the fact that we're having this huge conversation about Cambridge Analytica and, of course, Facebook, and can they be trusted with data, and what happens when that data falls into the wrong hands. I guess the other side of the question is, why is Facebook the one to trust with our data? Because if we're freaking out, if we're assuming that an election was thrown one way or the other, or that we have any kind of credible indication that 50 million Facebook profiles have been quote unquote breached, and that had any kind of effect in public discourse or had tangible ripples throughout, be it the election or just the dialogue of this country, think about what Facebook has. Think about what Facebook has with almost 2 billion monthly active users. They're collecting data that Cambridge Analytica only wish they had. Facebook has infinitely more data. And not only that, as we mentioned before, Facebook has been known to go to other sites. This happened through one of our interviews, a security expert we talked to over in Europe, and they mentioned that Facebook will actually go out and purchase data from other companies so that they can build a more complete and robust profile on every single person. They have records, data, behavior, login, any kind of data that you could possibly want. And they use that data to, of course, sell advertising and very targeted advertising, which has been another topic that we have discussed here. But if Cambridge Analytica should not have been trusted with 50 million profiles, why is Facebook trusted with 2 billion increasingly robust profiles? Simply because they collect it? That's not really good enough anymore. We're seeing over in the European Union where data is being treated as the valuable resource it is finally. The right to be forgotten, the right for citizens to request companies actually delete the data that they have collected on them, that has gotten a lot of attention. That's great. We see even actually... they actually said that MPs formally request Zuckerberg answer questions. So they said that Facebook is facing investigation over a reported data incident between itself and Cambridge Analytica. So yeah, Mark Zuckerberg himself is being served warrants to speak on behalf of what they're doing over there. I mean, part of what is surprising to me is that people didn't know this, because Facebook has not really been a secret about what they collect. They collect everything. They connect the dots. They then package these and try to influence spending habits, behavioral, or anything else that people will pay the money for. They then go about it. It's a very traditional method of advertising, but a much more granular and defined and precise way of doing it. So it's old techniques mixed with new data. Pretty darn cool, but as we're seeing here, I think when people actually get a grasp on it, they're not as comfortable with the idea of what Facebook does. And just to be clear, Facebook isn't the only one, because internet service providers are doing the same thing. The NSA, the US government, to put on tinfoil hats, pretty much any large government is looking to do the exact same thing that Facebook is doing. But Facebook has, I guess because Facebook is a private organization and they're one of the premier organizations, they have a lot of spotlight on them. So there's been a lot of, spotlight on Facebook recently, and there will continue to be because, again, hey, one of the biggest. But I'm just not sure if we're heading into this a little bit more offended than we should be. I really do feel like Facebook has not been surreptitious about what they're doing. But now that people know, they're more inclined to say, well, how could Facebook do this? That strikes me as a bit disingenuous, especially from lawmakers, policymakers, police, just anyone who is looking to combat things like fake news and propaganda and what have you. I mean, Facebook's role in this and their power, like really, data is power at this point, and their ability to influence. This is not news. Right at the end of the day, that's what I think is surprising me about this. This isn't news about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And yet it's being treated as some kind of huge, betrayal on behalf of Facebook or, data. People didn't value data. Lawmakers, policymakers, more. They collected what they wanted and they let them have free reign. But now we're starting to see the real impacts of big data. And it's just hard to treat this as some kind of new crime committed on behalf of Facebook when, hey, this is their business model. This is what they've been doing this entire time. And to say, how dare Facebook sell data or Cambridge Analytica use Facebook to collect data, it just seems, again, like you're trying to be offended. So there's that one. Wanted to get that one out of the way. And I'm sure we will hear more because, yes, Facebook has been getting a lot of backlash for this. Their stock price has been tanking. And, hey, it's a good time to have this conversation. Even though I feel like this conversation should have been had 8, 9, 10 years ago, I'm glad that it's finally happening now. And I hope the conversation does continue because there are real questions for Facebook to answer. There's real questions for a lot of tech companies to answer. But for now, let's focus on Facebook. So, with that being said, I think we have time for just one more story if we can squeeze it in here. And I kind of like this one because human emotion, it's pretty hard to judge when you're texting, when you're typing, when you're emailing, but it's also a little difficult to judge when you're on the phone with someone because you don't get the subtle body language, facial cues, things like that. Some people are very, very good at it where they can listen to someone talk and maybe they can hear if they're angry or if they're tired or if they're sad. But at the same time, it's a skill. And it's a skill that apparently, according to ZDNet, Mr. Greg Nichols, saying that artificial empathy call center employees are using voice analytics to predict how you feel. That's right. So the technology can also help identify depression symptoms, and it may soon empower machines to act more human. So here we go. There we go. So they say that customer service calls can be, infuriating. And part of the reason is that humans generally aren't great at reading subtle emotional cues. And at the same time, we often inadvertently broadcast unintended emotional signals, easily leading to miscommunication and discomfort over the phone. But this coming out of MIT, saying that a company called Cogito is using voice analytics to help customer service reps better understand how customers are feeling, where the technology behind Cogito's enterprise product, which can predict a customer's emotional state by analyzing tone and voice patterns, has also been used to identify signs of PTSD or depression in veterans. Pretty darn cool. So it doesn't take a huge imaginative leap to envision the same technology giving computers and robots a simulated version of empathy. And no, it makes perfect sense because, even if you had something as simple as different scripts for different emotional states, such as if you had an emotional script for angry, then maybe you'd be a little bit quicker, you would elevate it a little bit faster, things like that. If they were sad or tired, maybe they'd be a little bit more sympathetic and they'd handle it in another way. All these little emotional cues would be able to, it would let robots and automated voice calls and things like that be a little bit more human. And that's an important part as we start to use more and more automated tools. Because if you've ever called your local cable company or something like that, yeah, the robots are coming. They are coming, and they're coming fast. So they said that the research quickly turned to healthcare, where he found voice analytics could help detect symptoms of depression or whether or not the patients really understand each other and their interactions. So, more recently, DARPA and the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs has been using it to determine PTSD. And just to wrap this up, it's aiding that intuitive understanding we have when we listen to people, helping people do that better. They said that the enterprise clients include MetLife and other large insurance providers. Being able to foster communication and connections between body language, beyond language, could have interesting implications in diplomacy and conflict resolution. So, all right, so there's that. And why don't we just go ahead and say, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Once again, thank you to our guest, Brainwavz. Brainwavz Audio, they were a great guest. Loved hearing about them. And yeah, I know that March Madness is going on, and I know that a lot of you, March Madness is, your brackets are busted. But hey, we hope that you enjoyed today's show, and we hope that you enjoyed everything here on Computer America. So until next time, everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. And yeah, be sure to tune in tomorrow on the show as we have on Dariush Derek Shani. So everyone, until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.